So I think true inclusivity is accepting Catholics and Christians in the workplace. And yeah, that's true inclusivity, true equality. Yes. You are important enough to make a difference. That's what it comes down to. Everyday lay Catholics like you and I watching this, we can make a difference. There's a little bit of David in us with the slingshot. We can take down that giant. And to not think that we have to let somebody else make the big difference. It's inside of us, every one of us watching this live stream.
This is how God works. Sometimes we have to go through these really difficult, tough times. And for us to find our mission, there's no end to where the Lord can act. And maybe he can act through us if we allow ourselves to be used by him. I'm going to bring in my friend and Tepeyac leader from the very first cohort of TLI, from the TLI 2018 cohort. His name is Rafael TestAI. Now his last name has been TestAI since he was born, but recently, recently because really the technology is recent. Even if you're looking 10, 20 years ago, the technology is fairly recent. He sort of found his calling as an expert in this field, and it seems like it was providential because it was already in the last two letters of his last name. And I've seen you, Rafael, spell TestAI with a capital AI at the end. Is that correct?
That's right, Chris. Thank you.
And it fits you so well, my friend. I know that you've been doing work with AI, primarily running your business. You created a platform that I definitely want you to share a little bit about what your platform does. But tell me about your own encounter with, you're going to tell us about a lot of things, but let's start with your own encounter with artificial intelligence, AI. How did it interest you? What is it that, has excited you about it? And where are you going with it?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Chris. And just to get an idea, how long do I have to answer the question so I know how to frame it?
Just give me a good answer. We're not that restrictive. Give me a good answer. It's fine, Rafael.
All right. And is this session right now interactive, like people in the audience can comment or no?
If people on the live stream on LinkedIn have comments, we'll be able to see them. It is live. People can comment, so we welcome any comment or question, but we don't have any comments yet. I'll let you know.
Okay, for sure. All right, everyone. So my name is Rafael TestAI. As Chris said, the AI in my last name capitalized. It was a recent change. And I came across AI like many people about 2 years ago with ChatGPT. That's how it started. And I needed to use AI for a domestic violence situation that I suffered. And I couldn't afford an attorney. So that's how I started. And I really fell in love with the technology. And I felt like that was my calling to help other people do the same.
And you created an app. You created an app. So for someone like you who at some point maybe didn't know much about AI and wanted to tap into the technology, did you find that you needed to get to become an expert on the back end of how things work? Or you can simply be a very good user and be able to leverage the tools that AI offers?
Yeah, so the fabulous thing about AI is that you don't have to become a programmer. You can use natural language, plain English, to program it as long as you're very specific in what you want. But it does help to have a little bit of programming as a background because if you know how to think in a sequence, in an algorithm, and in a protocol, which is what programming is, it's like following a recipe. You're just telling the computer, do this. And if these conditions are met, do these things. But if not, do this. That's what programming is essentially. So if you can take a couple computer classes, maybe 3 months or so, you'll have a big advantage when other people are programming on plain English. But to answer Chris' question, you don't need to know Python or JavaScript or any programming language. If you're pretty good at English, you can get a head start.
Just for a little reference, Rafael, what is your own professional training? What did you go to school for?
Yeah, I went to school for molecular biology and genetics to Barrett, ASU, the Honors College. And after that, I sold a mobile application. I did that for 5 years. I was a non-technical founder. It was called Event Key. This is all on my LinkedIn profile. If you just copy my name, paste it on LinkedIn, you'll see it. And then after that, I became a mechanical engineer for 5 years. And then after that, I became a software developer for the last 2 years.
All right. So you definitely had what I will call a scientific mind. And I'm sure that didn't hurt when you started getting involved with AI and using it for your new project, your new idea, your app. By the way, what is your app called?
Yeah, it's called Statute Finder. And I don't know
Okay.
if I can share my screen, but statute has three T's, as in Tom, statute,
Okay.
finder, and it's statutefinder.org. It's the #1 domestic violence app in the world right now, top of the App Store. In just 3 months, we climbed all the way to the top. Here's the logo. It's orange.
A statute finder, and I'm sure that the people for whom this is relevant, they're gonna go find it. They're gonna look for it, and I know it's relevant to a lot of people. I know that it was a very difficult, complicated situation that moved you forward, and brought the idea to you. But this is how God works. Sometimes we have to go through these really difficult, tough times, and for us to find our mission, whether this is our life mission or maybe a temporary project that God is putting in front of us. But it seems to me that that's precisely what's happened to you. I'm proud of you. By the way, Rafael, you are one of our Tepeyac leaders. You graduated from the first cohort. Early on the week, we had one of your peers, Roxana Amaton, who's also from the 2018 cohort. Let me tell you, all the cohorts of TLI are wonderful. I love them all. I see you guys as my children, even though we are maybe close of age. But because you come into this program that we have poured our love into, hopefully has given you something to take away. I want to now take you back to your experience with TLI, and it was several years ago because you were part of the first generation. But did it do anything to you in your professional and spiritual life? Is there a before or after TLI? Could you speak about that?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm from the 2018 cohort, 7 years ago, the first cohort. It was all done in person in Phoenix. And yeah, let me see. There is a before and after because what I learned from TLI, there's a couple main points. If I were to distill it into you are important enough to make a difference. That's what it comes down to. Everyday lay Catholics like you and I watching this, we can make a difference. There's a little bit of David in us with the slingshot. We can take down that giant. And to not think that we have to let somebody else make the big difference. It's inside of us, every one of us watching this live stream. Okay, so the other thing is to not play small in the workplace and to not compromise your Catholic values in the workplace, no matter what. And that is a distinction before and after TLI. I'd say to look for places where I can work that would honor our faith and wouldn't force us to turn away from our faith. Because when that happens, when we're not congruent with who we are inside and what we do every day at work, and when we can't be Catholics at work, then it's just not a good environment. I don't think that's healthy. So I think true inclusivity is accepting Catholics and Christians in the workplace. And yeah, that's true inclusivity, true equality. Yes.
I loved everything you have just said, Rafael. I never thought of that image, but I'm going to use it with your permission, David. There's a little David in all of us. Uh, we use the image of Juan Diego, which I think is a similar one, because, well, I don't know if David, no, actually, from what I recall, David was pretty courageous from the beginning, but Juan Diego, he didn't feel quite up to the challenge, up to the mission. He was he was a little hesitant, very yeah, didn't necessarily felt that he could do that. He was the right person for it. That's what he told Our Lady. And that's why we use that image in the program, Juan Diego as the image of the lay leader. You certainly have accomplished much. I am very proud of you and your peers, Rafael. I think that you're leading the way in your niche. And I think that is the beautiful thing about our calling as leaders, that we don't need to do it all, right? And ultimately, the one that does everything is God. We're just his tools, and we can let him use us when we are docile and open to what he's putting in front of us. But what's your take on that, on the fact that each of us has a calling, a concrete purpose and mission that God has prepared for us?
I actually want to touch up on a video that you shared, Chris, not too long ago, one of your selfie videos. If you follow Chris, you'll see what I'm talking about, his LinkedIn feed and Instagram, where you discuss, Chris, that finding your calling in life is actually not that difficult. It could be right in front of you. And the way that I see that is, in my life, God has shown me what are some problems, some things that I would consider absolutely unacceptable. And I see that no one's taking action on that. So I see maybe it is my calling to fix that problem. And I'm doing it. I noticed that domestic violence survivors, they don't know their statutory rights. These are the rights, the laws, and they're called statutes. It's not as complicated as we may think. Everyday people like you and I can know this. But these statute codes are based on jurisdiction, where you live. And if you know these statute codes, you can categorize the abuse that you've been through, and then you can engage police, law enforcement, detectives, and judges and articulate yourself in a way that they can understand and move your case forward in your defense. And it's just overlooked completely in the domestic violence sector. Everything's very emotional. Is he or she a narcissist? Did they cheat on me? These are not laws. The police doesn't care about that. So if you approach police with that mindset, they're gonna brush you aside. But if you approach with the codes, they're gonna listen to you and you may have your rights upheld like they should. So God showed me that injustice and I'm doing something about it. And thousands of lives have been changed because of this. So I know without a shred of doubt that this is the TLI calling that I was waiting for.
This is your mission. This is the mission the Lord has given you. And I love it, Rafael, because you give us a very concrete example. And the beauty about this is that the opportunities, the arenas, the avenues, the spaces are endless. There's no end to where the Lord can act, and maybe he can act through us if we allow ourselves to be used by him. And if we discern it, we can find the mission, the concrete, individual, unique mission that he has for us. And that's what I see in you, Rafael. I want to go back a little bit to AI, because Pope Leo XIV has, in a very, at least it has called my attention in a way that not even Pope Francis, I actually don't recall. I'm sure he has, because his pontificate lasted for several years. I'm sure he has talked about AI, but I don't really remember what he ever said about it. However, Pope Leo, from the beginning, he brought up this topic. I don't know if you have read anything that the Pope has said about, but what is your take on the Pope's concerns on AI, on what he's saying or what he said so far?
So let's make sure that we're on the same page. And I agree with you, Chris, that the new Pope has talked about AI from the very beginning. Can we pull a quote, maybe that he said, and can we all look at it at the same time so we're referencing the same thing?
Yeah, I have one in front of me actually.
Let's do that.
AI, he's talking about AI. He says, will certainly be of great help to society, provided that its employment does not undermine the identity and dignity of the human person and his or her fundamental freedoms. Now, why? I'm gonna read the second part. Then he goes on. It must not be forgotten that artificial intelligence functions as a tool for the good of human beings, not to diminish them, not to replace them. Now, why I feel that you know AI much better than I do. Why would the Pope be concerned about this? I imagine that, like any technology, it can be good to put to good use or to bad use, because that happened with the internet, with social media, with everything has been that way. What do you think about AI? Is there an ethical aspect to it? Is there a moral aspect to it?
Certainly, I think that AI can be weaponized, just like a fork at the dinner table is meant to be for eating, but then one can weaponize it in jail to injure someone else, poke them in the eye with it. The same thing can be with AI. You can weaponize it, you can corrupt it, and you can use it for bad things. Just recently, I saw an article about AI has gotten so good at making images that one could literally fake receipts of expenses and then deceive the IRS into thinking that one had expenses when one didn't, like a restaurant receipt, things like that. That's just one example of the many corrupt things that one can do. So we have to be very careful, and that's why if somebody asks me who is Rafael TestAI, one of the first things I would say is I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, and that's the lens through which I see the world, and which I also learned in TLI. I'm so grateful for the course that I took, the program, because it helped me see the world in that view. So whenever I program AI, I make sure to have good values and principles.
Excellent, Rafael. I love everything that you're doing. That's precisely how we want our Tepeyac leaders to approach their space, wherever they are. And we are blessed to have Tepeyac leaders in education, in finance, in healthcare. I think we probably had Tepeyac leaders from every arena at this point. We haven't had an astronaut yet, but most arenas, I think we had. What is next for you, Rafael? But I want you to tell me, just in closing, with this I'll let you go, but spend a little time on each category. What would you say is next for you in your professional life, in your plans for your project, your big project, this app that I know is just the beginning because you're really trying to grow it and make it more known and accessible and perfected. And also something that matters to us, your spiritual life, your interior life. Is there anything in particular that you are trying to work on, or maybe go a little deep on your own interior growth? And I touch on professional development and spiritual growth because that's where TLI lives. That's where our organization, our leadership program, the conference, that's where we are at the intersection of professional development and spiritual growth. So what's next for you? Have you thought about this? Have you discerned this?
Certainly. So we have gotten Statue Finder to the point that there's such demand for it. Meantime, I want to start recruiting a co-founder that will be the non-technical co-founder that could be the people-facing, the one that does the interviews and does the relationships, manages the CRM, and I can be basically like in the basement, programming and coding. That would be a dream scenario. So if anybody's listening that you would like to be that person that saves others and thus the customer facing as like a non-technical co-founder, please reach out to me, even just to start a conversation. We're gonna do it in the beginning, just a little bit of volunteering to get started. Then we're gonna get some big grants that we've applied for, and then we'll be able to distribute the salaries and get everyone paid accordingly. So that's on the Statue Finder front. But I have a big vision that God has given me. We are going to be the first domestic violence legal resources clinic that you can call and AI can answer the phone. And this is not going to be the typical robotic press one for this, press two. It's going to talk just like I'm talking now, like you and I, Chris. It's going to have empathy and it's not going to have that delay. It's going to be awesome. I'm working on it now behind the scenes. Let me see what else. There's one thing else I'd like to touch upon, which is, it's not to answer your question, but I think this is really cool for people to listen to this. What it feels like when you're doing God's work. I want to talk about that if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So when you accept, I don't want to cry when I talk about this. When you
It's
accept,
perfectly okay. That's why you're not AI.
yeah, when you accept God's calling, it's like when you accept it, because it may not be the thing that you wanted to do, but it's the thing that has been assigned to you. And one has to humbly accept the responsibility. Because one may have been preparing their whole life to this moment, and you have all the skills you needed, and then you just didn't know. And then God allows you to see that there's this problem in the world that needs to be solved, and you see it, and you care about it more than anybody else. So it feels like you have the wind in your favor. It feels like every door just opens for you. It feels like there's nothing that you don't understand. That's how I feel right now. Whenever I study AI, there's no topic in AI that I just don't understand. I literally sit down in front of the computer and I can't believe that I understand everything that I come across. And I know it's not me anymore because I wasn't like this in school or before. But it's incredible. I tell my friends and my mom, everything that I want to understand, I get it, and I deploy it, and it works. And I know it's not me anymore. I just put my hands up like it's him working through me, and he wants to save the people I needed the most with this technology. So thank you very much for allowing me to review on this platform, Chris. And if anybody wants to keep in touch with me, my name is here below. Just copy and paste it on LinkedIn and send me a message, and we can take it from there.
Thank you, Rafael. You definitely answer all my questions with that. Again, I'm very proud of everything you've done, my friend. I wish you the best. We continue to be in contact. You know that TLI doesn't let its children go too far, and we're always grabbing you for this and that and using your talents so that we can continue to grow the apostolate. I look forward to seeing you in Mexico City. You're going to be there with us. So keep up the good work and keep up the praise for us. We're praying for you too. Thank you so much, Rafael.
Muchas gracias, Chris. Chao.
Yes.